So you're starting? Stuff like that. I mean, the nonprofits are nice, but they get overwhelmed.
Well, I have.
Welcome to the Rotary Club of Rochester. We're glad to see you all here today. Our storm is past and we're ready to convene again. Today is Dave Mortel's birthday, and he is not with us. I understand he's in Arizona or Key West. Okay, Florida. So I am happy to stand in his big shoes. I do not have the wand, however. So I would like to welcome you all and ask if we can have the four-way test. Joseph, would you do the four-way test for us?
You want a microphone?
The thing to be thing, say, or do first. Is it a do? Second.
Is it
Third.
Third.
Friendships. Four. Be beneficial to all side. And five, is it fun?
My name is Allison Good, and I am the past president of our club, and look forward to having a very interesting meeting today. The theme of this month is water and sanitation and hygiene. And we know that our president of the Rotary International, Stephanie Urchik, celebrates the magic of Rotary, but there's no wand to make it go. Oh, it does. I thought it required the wand. Well, there's still room to grow. Providing in today's reflection is Steve Sperling.
You can use that, either one.
Weeks ago, Joseph was good enough to give us a presentation about astronomy. And I happened to be online to view that, and it just kind of inspired me because we were down in Tucson. And watching that online, I thought, well, gosh, Tucson is a dark city, for those of you that don't know it. And the KIT Observatory is located, a national observatory, which is one of our treasures, is located just outside of Tucson, and I hadn't been there. So I took the opportunity to go there and got to see images of the galaxy. We got to see images of the Hubble telescope and from the James Webb telescope that's out in space. But that just reminded me of a quote from one of the, in my opinion, most wisest people who ever lived. And I'm just going to share that quote again. From this distant vantage point, the Earth might not seem of particular interest, but for us, it's different. Consider that dot. That's here, that's home, that's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you've ever heard of, every human being, whoever it was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of continent religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero, coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king, peasant, every uncoupled love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, Every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in the sunbeam. The earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in a great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit, yes. Settle, not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. And that's by Carl Sagan.
There's a fairly profound theme to share with us. And it sort of underscores why we commit ourselves to service. To my mind, it is the hope that the world has in organizations like Rotary and Rotarians who make every effort to spend their treasure, their time, their passion for service. Do we have someone who would do happy thoughts today? I usually see George's son here, but we would like to take the basket.
Yeah, John.
I think I've never done this before. All right. Asha, would you like to do the honors today? Happy bucks.
Great winter in California. I got to spend time with my parents up there and lots of friends and family. And while we were gone, all the wonderful sponsors stepped up and we raised over $18,000 in sponsorship for our 100th anniversary celebration coming up in May.
Welcome home. My happy bucks are because Ashok is here and happy and stirring around. Thanks, Bill. I'll pay you later. My happy thought is getting a haircut on Saturday. My shout out is just for a pause for all of us in this sense. My wife and I haven't agreed politically ever. We've always counted each other vote, and guess what? We still get along. So for all of our family and friends, let's just get along. How about that? Godspeed. Thank you.
and I have a happy thought. We've been informed by our grandchildren within the last several days. We have two more great grandchildren on the way. One is in London and the other is in Denver.
Awesome, productive.
Slow, but
So I'm happy to be back from Arizona. That's one happy thought. The other happy thought is the Tanzania grant is officially closed. But they have their truck, all the paperwork's in, and the grant is complete.
Then the happy bucks from people that paid $20 and said, put the other dollar in. Happy bucks.
Thank you.
They bring it back.
Putting in 20 to wish Dave Mortel a happy birthday. He's not online. We see Frank and Ellen and Judith. But when he watches the rerun, he'll know that we're thinking of him.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? That's it.
I'd like to invite Randy Stocker to come up. He is going to update us on the Rochester Fest. Randy? He was here. There he is. Oh, I should have waited to see if you were done eating.
Fine. Who all been to Rochester Fest before? Some of you, not all of you. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about it this year. I got hired August 1st to take over and run Rochester Fest as executive director. We're making a lot of changes, hopefully good changes. So we're gonna go through this a little bit. Next slide. A little bit about the history. Rochester Fest has been around for 43 years. So we have 43rd year from the former mayor's Chuck Hazama. Started it back in 1987 or whatever that was, 43 years ago. It's had 3 locations since then, and now we're at Soldiers Field. Been there for several years. It's a great location for us. And we'll be there this year. So a lot of long-time traditions that we're continuing. We have a treasure hunt every year. We have this gold medallion we hide out in the public somewhere, and we have hundreds of people try to find it. Or getting calls and doing the treasure hunt. So it's really a fun thing. Country Breakfast on the Farm has an event every year. You get hundreds of people come out there for a nice breakfast. Grand Parade's been around. This year we're expecting over 100 floats. We've got 9 bands lined up, maybe even a military band coming. Those can be a great parade this year. I have our annual button design contest, which ends on Monday. We have let the public create buttons to promote Rochester Fest. And we also have live music. And this year we've hired 18 bands, live bands, and it's nonstop music from noon until 10 o'clock every single day. So a couple changes there. Next slide. This year we're going some theme days. On Tuesday, we're doing what's called a Senior Shine Day. I don't see any seniors out here, but when you get old enough, you're invited. Work with all the nursing homes and really promoting it, but we got special bands, we've got a dance floor, we got a professional dance instructor. We got bingo, we got all kinds of activities. So that's on June 24th. Starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. We've got massages, just got a masseuse lined up this morning. Okay, so we have a lot of fun. Wednesday, we're doing what's called a tribute to veterans and first responders. There's 8,500 veterans in Southeast Minnesota. So we're hosting a day to honor these people. There's probably some veterans out here, I'm guessing. Okay, so we're going to do that. We've got multiple bands. We're having a ceremony that evening. Something else we're doing, we're actually bringing in if you've been to Washington, D.C. or not, but there's a wall out there, a veterans wall that has names of 58,000 Vietnam veterans on it. We are bringing a replica of that wall to Rochester this year. Okay, I'll be here from June 23rd to the 29th. Thursday is our community day. We invite all the nonprofits to come out there and have a booth and have some fun stuff. We've got some art events. And Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are all family fun days. We've got bounce houses, we have events, we have the princess contest, we have bubble dance. Just a lot of different activities for the kids. So bring your kids, bring your grandkids out there. It's a blast with grandkids. And Saturday is our big parade, which we talked about. Okay, let's look a bit more about the Trail of Vietnam Wall. It's actually two. There's the Vietnam Wall. And there's something called a Cost of Freedom tribute that honors all veterans, military people that have been in any military action since the Vietnam War. Okay, it's broken into 5 different areas here, so it can be part of it here. So it's not just for the Vietnam veterans, it's for all veterans and all military personnel as well. So here's a picture of sort of what it's going to look like. I'm working with all kind of 12 veterans organizations in town to plan this event, to promote this event, to market this event. We're hoping people from 2 or 3 state areas come to Rochester, so it should be a good event for the city of Rochester as well. That lists some of the different types of events. 9/11 tribute, World War I, World War II, Korean War tributes. So a lot of different things there. And before that, we're actually doing a caravan. So as it comes into town on June 23rd, we're going to have a 20-mile caravan. So we're going to meet out on Highway 90 with the police and the fire and the sheriffs, as many people as we can, and bring this amazing tribute in the right way. So that'll be a neat thing to do. And then that evening, we're going to have a second ceremony. So volunteers. Ooh. We're going to need about 454 volunteers to make Rochester Fest successful this year. That's about 90 man-hours per day, which is a lot. Scared me when I came up with that number. Okay. My idea is beer tent. Need 20 to 30 volunteers a day. Information booths, about 12 a day. The parade on Saturday takes an awful lot of people to get it organized, to get it lined up, to get all the floats and entries, same spot. And then to walk the parade, make sure the kids are safe. Make sure nobody's doing anything stupid out there. Event manpower, I need 15 to 20 special assistants that day, just to help me make sure all of the events are going well and people are lined up and know where their booths are at. Veterans wall and set up. One of our contract says we need 15 to 20 people to set up the wall on that Tuesday, 15 to 20 people to take it down that Sunday, and then we need 15 to 20 people on emergency call unless the weather comes. Because if it gets more than 45 miles an hour, it's going to take that display and destroy it. A lot of manpower. And then wall manpower. I'm meeting with the high schools. I'd love to get the young students to come out to Veterans Day and get to know the veterans. Understand them, thank them for their service. So I'm trying to get 5, I meet with Mayo High School and Lord's High School to see if we can get the students out there to help people find the names on the walls. So it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully the schools will get behind it and support it. If not, we're still going to need about 30 per day to help people find the names on the walls. Next slide. Fun stuff. So we're going to have 3 or 4 bounce houses. Still negotiating that one here, but the kids love the bounce houses. We haven't had them for a couple of years. So we're bringing them back. On the right there, I've got 2 hot air balloons coming. Okay, so we're going to put them on the baseball diamond over there. We've got the prisoner of war hot air balloon. And then there's another military hot air balloon that's going to be out there. You can get people rides up and down, about 50 foot up, 50 foot down. On the left, we're doing something called a little buddy tractor pull. Okay, we've all been to the big adult tractor pulls. This is one for the kids. Ages 4 to 11. Got a company coming in here. They're going to have tractors and just a regular tractor pull. We're going to give prizes to the top 3 winners of each age group. And those kids can actually go on to a state competition. Something new, something exciting. I'm right in the corner, that's my grandson Lucas. I thought I could throw him in there because I could. But he loves to come to the fire truck and spray the fire hose. Okay, next slide. So, 5 things I'm trying to accomplish today. One, I want to let you know about Rochester Fest. The dates of June 23rd to the 29th. Please put it on your calendars. Please tell your families and friends about it. Make sure your kids and grandkids know about it. If you're having a family reunion, have it that week. Let me provide the entertainment and the excitement and the music. Just bring the kids and the families. Have some fun out there. Number 2, say about 450 volunteers as we get closer to the date. We'll be asking for you guys to sign up to volunteer. And there's some easy jobs and there's some harder jobs. But we'll have a sign-up sheet coming up probably in May sometime. We'll keep that in mind if you can help us for 2 or 3 hours at a time. Sponsorships or grants. If you guys still own a business or if you know of any potential grants or sponsorships, it costs a lot of money to run Rochester Fest. Off to a pretty good start with the grants and stuff, but I could use another $40,000 or $50,000 what we're shooting for. So if you know of any businesses or organizations, please send them my way or let me know. But in bargain sale in the past, all the civic groups have helped sell the Rochester Fest buttons. I'm going to try to bring that back this year. See if your organization wants to sell some buttons as a fundraiser for yourself and a fundraiser for Rochester Fest. So I'm so that deal together here, but I'll bring that back later. And if none of the other stuff I talked about interests you at all, you're careless about it, why not have fun? That's the main thing. Rochester Fest is a fun event. It's called Celebration of a City. We're all part of Rochester Fest, so come on out, have fun. And I think that's my last slide. It is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Randy. What a massive undertaking. I know a number of you have been very involved in that, so thank you for sharing your information with us. We have a number of, let's see, we have birthdays and anniversaries. Birthdays this month: Lori Lukey, Warren Harmon, Dave Mortel, Steve Nyos, Jennifer Woodford, Larry Koshier, and Mark Dockery. And anniversaries: Lee Johnson, 54 years. Ling Zhang, 1 year. Steve Sponsel, 25 years. Mary Sorensen, 13. Heather Holmes, 12 years. Bill Wichter, 19 years. And Suzanne Denison, 28 years. Happy birthday and happy anniversary. We have a number of announcements to cover. Is there anyone that wants to update about the 100th anniversary planning? I see we have.
I just want to thank all the sponsors. If you haven't paid for your sponsorship, please get that in. Otherwise, we'll start bugging you for that because we got to get that money in and start getting all ready for the party. Again, it's going to be May 15th. We think we're going to have a minimum of 150 people, up to maybe 300 people. We are close to getting the invitation to go out more. Luke is working diligently to make that all. Well, it's going to come out and be a club runner. However, we do not have a lot of emails of past Rotarians. So if you personally know someone that you're still in contact with, as a past Rotarian, past volunteer, or someone that just would like to support Rotary and be part of it, email me their contact information, just forward that to me. And we have an email blast that's going to be going out. We'd love to include as many people as possible that have any connection with Rotary. The speaker is coming from Columbus, Ohio. Again, he's a world-renowned photojournalist who's also a Rotarian. He's going to kind of tell us his story of Rotary through pictures. It's going to be at Rochester Golf and Country Club from 5 to 8:30, 5 to 6 is like a social hour, and then dinner and program following. But again, the email should be coming out any day now, so watch for that. But again, if you know of people that you think we should be inviting that aren't current Rotarians, please get those emails to me. And I want to thank the committee. Got a great committee working on it, and it's just going to be a fabulous event.
Vicki, I know that your whole committee is working very hard on this, and we're looking forward to it. And I hope you will think through the people who have been in our Rotary Club and you still have contact so that we can add them to the list. The Channel One volunteer, the risers have been very active in the Channel One volunteer work, and it meets the fourth Monday of every month. Risers and other Rotarians are welcome from 5:30 to 7:30, and the next meeting is March 24th. You might want to note on your calendar, the Rotary Making Peace Visible Conference is May 2nd and 3rd, 2025. And I know that Ashok was our representative I think from the district to the international one, and that was it in Turkey? Istanbul. And so I assume you will be enriching that dialogue at that May 2nd and 3rd. And if there are others who want to know more about it, I think you can go to the district website or ask Ashok a little more about it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Jeremiah Cook for Kids. Dates, keep this on your calendar, May 20th and September 16th. And I also want to remind you that the Cradle to Career Education Summit fundraiser, Victoria's and Sorellina's, two wonderful Italian restaurants in Rochester, will generously contribute 25% of their sales. But you must reference and mention that you're dining there, either eating in or eating takeout, is for the Cradle to Career fundraiser. So that could be I'm trying to think if I can have a party and have everybody order their own dinners and pick them up, and we'll eat together at my house or go there, depending. But they're open the benefit goes from 10:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night. So finding a time in the day should not be a difficult thing. Are there any announcements that someone wants to bring at this time? Otherwise, we will get on. We have a few minutes extra early, so we'll get started. Today, Dr. Loring Stade, a retired podiatrist at Olmsted Medical Center, and impressive and long resume of service in our community, is here to talk about his family's connection to the history of the Titanic. He will also mix in his member spotlight. So I will invite him to come to the
President,
yes.
just 1 minute before he comes up. There's one guest here today that I thought.
Oh, yes, Colin, thank you. Okay.
60 seconds. So we have one guest here today, Edith Bailey. I live in a place in Rochester called Bailey Heights. I don't know if you're any relationship to the Bailey Heights, but let's welcome Edith. Thank you for coming for that. And because we don't have any other guests, I'm going to spend 60 seconds. I think you said it's the month of water. So how appropriate it is to have our guests here today speaking about the Titanic. 3 months ago, I retired. 2 days later, I got a new hip. I spent February in Alabama. Last Tuesday, I went down to the beach at 9 a.m. and set up my umbrella and deck chair. And at 10 o'clock in the morning, I had a mojito. I think I have adjusted to retirement. And my wife didn't think I could, but when it's 73 degrees, as it was in Alabama last Tuesday, it was great. I want to mention a lady here, Laurie Lukey. I don't see Laurie much at meetings. I'm not being, do you still have a working job? You still, oh, that's good. But Laurie, I'm the program chair, and so I chat with Laurie by email about programs. And she helps me with the Excel spreadsheets that I really have no knowledge to do with. She is the chief and editor and publisher of the Moccasin Flower. And I don't think she gets, do we pay you for that? Well, we should. So I would like to thank, yes. I personally thank Laurie because now I realize what she really does. So, all right, that's my 60 seconds. President, thank you very much and welcome you.
Yeah,
Okay, I think about it.
We'll give you a quick member profile on me and then we'll wrap up by about 5:02 and have questions if you want. I'm Warren Stead. I'm so happy to be here today. Would not have been able to happen if it wasn't for Shazan, for Joseph, and for Allie for getting here and making it happen for me. Well, thank you. I was introduced to Rotary in about 1983, 4, 5. And my father always said, when you're like 30 years old, join the group that has the wisdom and the education and the opportunity. So I joined Rotary. And I think, Lee, what do we have? 200 downtown at the time? It was unbelievable. And then he said at 50, switch around, then go to a younger group. And I did. I went to Optimist at about 55. And now I'm back. So thank you. I think I was here maybe a couple decades, took maybe 15 years off, and now I'm back. I'm Warren Stead, 35 years at Olmsted Medical Group. It was just pure joy. Was in the first group that was, I think it was called Rochester 2000 or something. And now I think it's called Greater Rochester Leadership. Well, from that group, it was pure joy because I got exposed to the city and county needs. And from that, I had the opportunity to be at Hiawatha Children's Home for 15 years. IMAA, Rochester Foundation, about 7 different clubs, pure joy. It was really, really fun. I have 3 kids, one in Dallas with 3 little grandkids, one in LA who is 1 child, and then a daughter here at Mayo in plastic surgery. So thank you for having me, and let's go aboard. Let's get in the icy waters of the Titanic. So I don't know if there should be a picture that shows that's fine. We'll go with this. So our direct connection is this guy. W.T. Stead was the youngest editor of a newspaper in England at 21 years of age. As he proceeded through, he got to be the editor of the Pall Mall Gazette, which at the time that the Titanic sunk was the equivalent of the New York Times. It was a big deal. He was a big guy. He was a journalist. He had written a book called Maiden Tribute to Babylon, which is right here, which if you Google him, you'll see he is given credit by many to be the first investigative reporter. He went and did deep dives. So in 1885, what you're going to see, there's an interesting theme that everything old is new again. From childhood sex trafficking and Epstein, to the Federal Reserve, to manipulation of potential even elections. And as you know, I'm politically neutral. My wife and I think we've countered each other for 40 years. So I welcome all. I don't negate any family or friends. We're all in this together. It's not where we're at, it's where we're going, and let's move this along. So Stead was invited by then President Taft to come to give a present at Carnegie Hall on peace. Stead was well known. He'd met with the Pope, 2 different popes. There was a Pope, I think, in 1910 and one in 12. He met them both. Tsar of Russia, good friends with the Tsar of Russia. Stead was well known. Don't take my word for any of this. Please dig in, because this is a story you're going to want to hear about. He did Maiden Tribute to Babylon to totally expose what was going on in the sex trafficking industry back in 1885. It was raw. It was real. It was a lot like what's going on today. I didn't realize the Rotary is going to take up sex trafficking awareness possibly at the national level. It sounds like. I talked to President Sperling. This is a big deal. There's over 45 million people still human trafficked now. It's larger than it ever was. So ultimately, the underlying core of this book is about that. We're going to enter the world of Titanic truce. Titanic truce. We all know when the Titanic sank. April 15th, 1912. We know how it sank. Well, it hit an iceberg. We even know who was on it, and we know where it sank. But we need to kind of re-examine the why. Are we accepting it? Yes, it just brought along it was a lot of mistakes and it went down. Obviously, it hit an iceberg, but is there a story behind the story, like with many other things in life? JFK, for example, we were all led to believe many different things. We're finding out a lot of things. History needs to be reexamined. I get a call. This person says, Dr. Stead, you don't know me, but this is Jack Canfield. I go, stop. I think I know who you are. Chicken soup for the stall. We had met on video and whatever. And he goes, this is a big deal, what you're doing. And I go, why is that? And he goes, the Titanic, there's 140 books on the Titanic. There's many books on the Titanic, but you have a direct relative on the Titanic. You're doing this story with your family and you're tying in some metaphors and spotlighting something that hasn't been done before. So it's real special and a passion for our family. So we're going to dig deep into what if these same principles are used to deeper dive into the Titanic truths. And the Titanic truths, I think the next one will come up. The definition we used to coin the Titanic truths. Well, let's see. The disclaimer, every person, family, institution, and event on this book is fictional accounts passed down through family lore, myth, and imagination. Or are they? I heard these direct stories. My great-grandpa, Elvis Stead, and his son, Edwin, met W.T. Stead twice in Chicago. They corresponded a lifetime of correspondence. Where does this information come from? Not only their correspondence that went back and forth for a lifetime, they were on the same, my family's from Berwick and Canton area. They were in simpatico with WT's efforts for trying to bring awareness to what was going on in childhood sex trafficking and human trafficking. So they even got to meet twice in Chicago. They even met Upton Sinclair. I think they were with Upton Sinclair at the Stockyards in 1903, and then went on to write The Jungle in 1904. So it was a small community back then. It's kind of like Rochester now. Who makes Rochester happen? There's about 200 people. It's always the same people deal. Everybody makes it happen, but there's a lot of core group that really makes it happen. The world was no different back then. So let's move on here. So let's see if we can get, there should be, the term Titanic truth is yet to be coined. This is something we've tried to propose. We've come to understand it as best defined as monumental, often uncomfortable revelations that challenge conventional wisdom, reshape our understanding, and force us to confront deeper realities of life. So Canfield said, so what genre is this? Is this fiction or nonfiction? I'm new to this world. I know about chemistry and biology. I'm not a writer. I didn't know anything about that until I retired 7 years ago, and now I'm into it. I said, from what I know, I think it's a new genre called historical fiction. He paused. That's good. Historical fiction is looking back what we know in history and re-examining it with what we know today. So we'll see if we get the mark of historical fiction. But this book is upsetting to a lot of people. So let's move forward. So there's WT. Look recognizable to you. Deep set eyes, big nose, frown right here. That's our family. We all look alike. With the exception of he had deep set blue eyes. He is identical to my son, who you're going to see a picture of later, who's also happening to help me on the book, as is my daughter, as is the grandkids. The grandkids in the front are illustrating the book. Man of distinction, Ken, do check out his books. Maiden Tribute to Babylon. I guarantee it's going to be a read that'll disturb you, and you need to read it. And then If Christ Came to Chicago, he came in 1903 and was just really disappointed what he was seeing. Okay, we're going to speed through these. Now, unbeknownst to a lot of people, some of you, look at the top right, the boat started in Southampton, England. Stead was so excited. Imagine this. We all can shut our eyes and imagine. You're standing in front of the Canadian Honker. Every one of us, shut your eyes, you've been in the Canadian Honker. You'll look across the street at St. Mary's. That building is 8 stories high, 800 feet long. Wow, that's impressive. The Titanic was 10 stories high, 882.5 feet long. Bigger than looking over at St. Mary's. Is that crazy? 100,000 people were they there that day at Southampton. I don't know if this is right. All being said, I could be wrong, but you're going to have to prove it. That was said that would go from 6th Avenue up to the freeway 30 deep looking at St. Mary's, the Titanic. 100,000 people showed up that day, if that's true. And talk about, all being said, I could be wrong, but you're going to have to prove it. The PDF at the end of this book, I can't even include it in the book. I have 1,000 lines of references, 1,000. 7 years of research, a lifetime of deep driving, 1,000. So it went to Shoreburg. Took about 6-7 hours to leave to cross the Atlantic. Stead was so excited. He was going across not the Atlantic. He was going to France to meet his best friend, John J. Astor. So Astor met him there. They got out. They were big into binoculars at that time. Stead had a 10-power Zeiss lens. Astor came up with his new wife, Madeline Force, and set up a tripod by a Manford servant, had 15-power lens. He had military grade. It was John J. Astor, richest man in the world. Well, lo and behold, why did they do it? Because the Titanic had to set 2 miles off in the harbor. They wanted to see, they were people watchers, like all of us. We want to go to the zoo, you look at the people. You want to go down to Rochester Fest, look at people, it's people watching. And they were watching there. Instead had, with his power, could see when John Jay came up, and he came up in a Silver Ghost, the Rolls Royce Silver Ghost. Now JJ gets on with his new nice wife, Madeline Force, caused a little stir because she was 18, he was 48, she was newly pregnant. But that's another whole story. I can give you a 4-hour on this. It's really good at some point. But they got their glasses out and they're going, they wanted to see who's getting on. Everybody's going to be getting on. Think of this. Rothschild, Vanderbilts, Warburgs, Fricks, Rockefellers. This is the biggest, most opulent ship ever. Of course you're going to be on. It'd be like going to the Super Bowl. This is the event. Everybody's going to be on there. And they didn't get on in England. Well, they're surely going to get on in France. So they're watching, got binoculars, look how up comes a Packard. Stead was like me. I know nothing about cars, never did. I have a 15-year-old Subaru out here. Cars aren't big to me. John Jay, his friend, big to him. He goes, wow, look at that. Brand new Packard. Only one person that can be, J.P. Morgan. Sure shooting. Suicide door swung open, which is special order back in 1912. A beautiful young lass gets out, starts walking up the gangplank. J.P. Morgan comes out. I think you can advance now. Very distinctive gentleman. Well, it'll come up in a minute by another one of the slides. That'll be fine. Big handlebar mustache, Rakesic nose, big walking stick. Undeniable who it was. And do understand they had 15-power lens. They knew what was going on. As soon as he gets out, he gets a little note. Reads it, calls his friend back, always traveled with his niece. Yeah, right. She gets back in the car. He looks up at the Titanic, gives it a minute, a pause, gets in the car and leaves. Stead and JJ are going, did you see what I just saw? J.P. Morgan owns the Titanic. He owns the Titanic, and now he's leaving. Oh, that's interesting. They gave him Stead didn't know JP. I think J.J. Astor did. But he goes, oh, well, that's too bad. It has to be a family emergency. Has to be something bad. Gave him a pass. So they get on and they start heading to Ireland. So I think they left that harbor at about 8 at night. They'll get over to Ireland. Queenstown now it's Cobb. It was Queenstown's back then. And they pull in about noon the next day. They were surprised already on who didn't get on in France. Where are these people? Where are the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Fricks, Warburgs, myriad of people? Where are they? Odd, but they thought, well, they got to be getting on in Ireland. On their that little trip, they found out Vanderbilt's last minute had to pull out. Frick last minute had to pull out. And that happens. You know, we all like terra firma, and all of us get a little hesitant to make the final move, especially on a ship but they're not there. They pull into Ireland. Certainly a lot of people are getting there. Same thing. They watch. I think in Ireland, they're only a half mile out. So they saw a lot more. They leave. They're heading now off to America. They'll be arriving, I think, on the 17th, maybe a 7 or 8 day crossing. They start putting it together. Instead, in fact, in the book, you'll hear about the three, which is Captain Smith, the millionaire's captain, Bruce Ishmay, who was the CEO of the White Star Line. Big time deal. Can you imagine putting together a deal that you have three sister ships, the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic? That had never been done before. These things were huge. And then Thomas Andrews, 39 years old, just a brainiac. It'd be the brainiac of all brainiac. Well, lo and behold, I'll fast forward. Captain went down. Bruce Ismay made it off. Thomas Andrews went down. The five on the bottom, which is the book is a lot about, is Stead, Astor, and Astor's best friends, Isidor Strauss, Benjamin Guggenheim, and what came to be a best friend, Major Archibald Buck. To leave time for questions, I'm just going to tell you this. As over the next few days, it transpired, it wasn't making sense. Who was on the ship makes sense. Why weren't these others not on the ship? That doesn't make sense. And then it was real peculiar, the wording that the captain gave about particularly the Vanderbilts, Fricks, and J.P. Morgan. It was almost patented. It was like reading off a little statement. Unforeseen health reasons came up and they had to pull out unexpectedly. It was the exact same on all of them. Well, that can happen, no big deal. But these guys are all connected. These guys are all connected, and these are big shots in the world back then. And the Marconian communication was now much more evident. They knew what was going on. So they go, well, that's odd, because all those guys in the business world have heard that they had unforeseen physical ailments occur. Not a business deal, but a physical thing. So it wasn't adding up. Fast forward, lo and behold, these five down in the Turkish bath. It had a Turkish bath on the ship. Can you imagine that? You know, we think of that now, but not back then. Turkish bath on the ship. So Stead knew why he was a dead man walking. Even in 1885, after, you can Google this, it's called the Stead Law. They got age of consent changed in England from, I think, like 12 to 18. That was a big thing. Changed the life of a lot of evildoers in the world. The Epsteins, the Harvey Weinsteins of the world, they wanted Stead dead. John J. Astor, Isidor, and Guggenheim, interesting, as they started talking, they go, why would somebody not want us to get to America? They started suspecting something was up. They literally thought somebody maybe was going to come on board and throw them overboard. They were, interestingly, hesitant on some new thing called the Federal Reserve. So they're going, could we be at risk? Does somebody want us not on board? Well, finally, Major Archibald Buck had been sent directly by Taft to get information on Wilson. He had sent them to the Vatican. Don't trust me on any of this. Google any person, any event, anything, and you'll see. It's like Stead didn't make it up. I never had an original thought in my life. I just am a good listener and know how to connect the dots. On my retirement party, I think my son put it together. He said, I think you've seen about 250,000 people. Not bragging or complaining, never got sued. I do know how to listen. Believe it or not. That being said, so it just started, they started connecting the dots and thought, we are at risk. There's more to the story. So let's see if you can go to the next slide. So some people didn't get on. Milton Hershey, J.P. Morgan, Clay Frick, just didn't add up. You're telling me of like the 8 most prominent families in the world, somebody or their family member wouldn't get on? I'll tell you, my Pammy, if there was some big ship and we were scheduled, I had to go to business, she'd go, that's fine, you do it. I'm going on the ship. Somebody would be there, wouldn't they? So they weren't. So you can go on to the next one. So I won't even read that last one. This tied into the story is the incredible Molly Brown. She literally was in a raft. No, she was in lifeboat 6 and saw Stead and John J. Astor frozen on a raft. And she really was touched by Stead. They had become good friends. And you can go on to the next one. You can go on to the next one. She is really taken up his banner on this whole thing. Her thoughts drifted back to Stead, to the urgency in his voice when he spoke of networks of exploitation that stretched into the highest echelons of society. There is so much at stake, Molly, he had told her, his voice raw with exhaustion and resolve. If people only knew what was happening behind the curtain, but it's not just about knowing, it's about acting. It's about speaking for those who can't speak for themselves. And now she was part of that legacy. She had chosen she would be one of them, ones who would fight, ones who would stand, ones who would speak. Molly Brown would be the voice for those who had not, voice for the voiceless. So you can click this. I'm going to wrap it up. We're going to have some questions. I do want to invite
The
you.
clock is 10 minutes fast, just so you know.
Oh, it is 10 minutes back. Okay. Well, it will, you can go on. You can click a couple more. Upcoming, I'd love to speak with you in the future about 7 proven steps to become unsinkable. You can go on to the next one. This has been the favorite thing out of the whole thing. I don't know if anybody's an author. You don't make money on books. It's a calling card. It's fun. Somebody buys a book and it's done. Somebody, Barb Armisen, it says, suggested a fellow author. There's about 7 authors in Rochester, maybe more, 7 I know. Write a children's book. I did. This thing has taken off. This has been a hoop. Titanic Trouble Trio. I'm doing it with my family. It's adventures of a cat, a mouse, and a rat that friend each other. I will start putting out a book every 2 months. And I try to drive home the point of a word for like a 4th grader. They would never understand the word on this one's. First one's alliance. How do you explain alliance to a 3rd grader or a 4th grader? Well, it's a cat, a mouse, and a rat who are unlikely friends who come together to do good things. So that whole series is taken off. The last book was just on these guys getting off on an iceberg and playing ice hockey. And we talk about the sport of ice hockey. Show up, do your best you can, and leave it all on ice. And that's where Canfield had said, this is interesting because you kind of are tying into the foundation of Chicken Soup for the Soul. You get the foundational base and you just reproduce it. So it'll be fun to see what happens. Next one. TitanicTruths.com. Please check it out. That's my website. Still under construction, but TitanicTruths.com. And then you can do the next one. I'll go 2 more minutes. First class aboard the RMS. April 11th and 12th. This is our 4th year. We have a 10-course sit-down dinner at Four Daughters. If you want to have a boot of a night, it's just pure joy. We've sold it out the last 4 years. We have 120 sit down every night. And what it is a 10-course. Oh, there's my son up in the top right. He is a spitting image to W.T. Stead. Beard, jet blue eyes, and he's just a good guy. But it's really a fun night. You come up, you could go on Amazon and get Super Titanic. You'd come as Captain Smith, I think, Lee. I think that would be incredible. I've seen many incredible Molly Browns here, very spunky, that would make it happen. But it's a special, special night. So please give that thought and consideration. Go to my website. I'm here to answer any questions. So now it's truly 10 to 1. Perfect. I'll give you like 7 minutes of questions. Any questions? Yes.
So what you're saying is you think there's a conspiracy theory that sunk the Titanic because of those people and not the iceberg.
Yeah. No, the iceberg went down. And once again, I don't draw any conclusions. I just give new information. They were saying they were at risk. And as you deep dive in the story, you'll find out, can't do the whole book, but they thought somebody was out to get them. It'll be revealed that there were people on the Titanic that were, and that's the great question, by the way, that were hired to hit an iceberg, not to take it down. It was unsinkable. It could hit an iceberg head on and not sink. It was to cause some damage, force it into getting picked up by another ship, 5 miles away, sat the Californian for a night. Didn't respond for like 8 hours. What? It was right there. They could see it. It didn't respond. So as you'll see revealed in the book, they were connecting the dots that something's up. So yes, they felt somebody was hired to maybe hit an iceberg intentionally, which easily could be done. They were going right through iceberg field, probably force them off the ship or take them into Halifax as close, of which their demise would be met. So yes, that is what they were trying to connect. I haven't concluded that. I'm still digging, but it's pretty interesting what is out there. Yeah, go ahead. So, any other, yes?
I've read that Captain Smith canceled the trial. We're going to have a trial emergency. If something happens, normally you have to run a special way to make sure everybody on your ship knows what to do. And that was apparently canceled.
The muster deck. They call it the muster experience. If you've gone on a cruise, the muster deck experience, and the answer is yes. So many things occurred that it really makes you stop to think, coincidence or intentional? I don't know. We may never know, but re-examining history is pretty interesting, as we know with JFK and with a lot of other things. So I haven't connected all the dots, but they were posing it, and that is a good question. So the answer is yes, they didn't have a muster deck, but so many good things happened as a result of it going down, in the sense that now you have to have a mandatory muster deck. Now you have to have enough lifeboats. A lot of positive things came from a negative thing. So thank you. It's been pure joy. Last question, anybody? Go ahead.
Branson has a Titanic exhibit that building that we bypassed and went to some dance for some odd reason.
And where was this at?
Branson, Missouri.
Yeah, it's a great one.
I should have gone there.
It's very good. Yeah, I've been to many of them. It's very good. They say the better one is by Dollywood in, is that Tennessee?
Yeah.
I think they say that one's great. So I think any Titanic exposure is good because it's iconic to all of us. We all kind of know the story. And I'll give you two parting shots. 7 proven steps to become unsinkable, which is the follow-up book. 2 things. Step number 1, we're all sinkable. Wow, we are. In health, wealth, and relationships. As soon as you realize you're sinkable, you have a whole different attitude. And then step number 5 would be hit your problems head on. If the Titanic would have hit the iceberg head on, it never would have sunk. It swung to the side, caused a big gash. So the take-home messages are pretty profound. Thank you very much for having me. Godspeed, stay out.
Thank you, Lauren. That was a wonderful presentation. In appreciation, we will be making a donation to the Sports Mentorship Academy in your name. And I'd like to thank all presiding and volunteers, those presiding and volunteers for today's program. Cashier Sergeant at Arms John Woodruff, 4-way test, that was Joseph, Reflections, Steve Sperling, Greeter, Audrey Betcher, Happy Bucks, Ashok, new member Spotlight, Dr. Lauren Steed, introduction of guests was, yes, thank you for bringing it up. It's really rusty. That's okay. And we thank Sherston for the AV and tech support and keeping us all communicating together. Thank you. Unless there are any final announcements, we are adjourned.